children to the park. Yeah, I don't know why my husband puts up with this shit. I'm like, babe, I'm recording a podcast. Good luck to you. Somehow he respects this thing that we're
Podcast
doing.
that he doesn't listen to.
That he's never listened to. My husband, Chris, who's never listened to this podcast or the other podcasts that we do and never will. But at least he spiritually respects our decision to podcast.
Spiritually respects it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, let's just get it. Well, welcome to the Feminine Mistake podcast, you guys. I'm one of your hosts, Nicole.
I'm your other host, Sarah.
So today this is our part 2 discussion on Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar, which we talked about with Lauren Schmuck and Cayla Priest. So we'll get into that in a moment. But being that this is our last episode of 2021, Sarah, would you like to, share anything this year, the movie that we watched that really stuck out to you, or something you're really proud of that you did this year? I feel like 2021 was a year where we were sort of on the mend, trying to get ourselves back in, trying to get ourselves back into society.
Man, what did I do this year? I
Well,
feel like
we started out the year, we were releasing episodes of our sketch show that we recorded virtually, which did you feel like that was successful? Did we succeed with that?
I feel like
you could be honest about it.
I feel like it was a really good exercise, and it really was enjoyable to do.
It was enjoyable to do because it was easy to get people together to do it.
Yes,
because they could do it from their homes.
So I will say that it was all worth it because of how it was to do. Like I'm not it's not
was
something
it our
you'd submit to film festivals.
Was it our finest production value?
No. But it had a lot of heart. It had a lot of people put in time and effort and really gave great performances, and we really appreciate their work, and it was just really nice to stay
be with people
connected, even though we couldn't be together in person. It was like a way to
Yeah, I agree. Not that this is a show about the other things that we do, but we're talking about it, so we are. By the way, listeners, if you're curious, what are we talking about? If you go to our YouTube channel, Critical Crop Top on YouTube, you can watch the sketches that we shot virtually during the pandemic, which we released in 2021. That was a definite challenge, because we shot it on Zoom, and I had to edit different people's video from different places and sync up audio that was drifting because of Zoom, and we had people shooting things at their homes and sending it to me, and somehow it all worked out. I think that I'm glad that we did it.
It was a necessary thing.
It was something to do together rather than not make anything, and it kept us connected to some people that I deeply love, and they were very funny, and I'm glad we got to do it. I'm glad that we got to keep doing this podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm also glad that we do it virtually now, because I'm so fucking lazy. We don't have to leave my house.
Yeah. I'm also glad that you wrote a film.
That's right. So we're shooting a film in a week. By the time this comes out, we'll have already shot it. So it's almost like a full circle thing, where we started the year not sure when we were going to be able to make films again. At least I wasn't. I know the vaccine was on the horizon, but it feels like, Sarah,
can you believe forever ago
how much has happened this year? The insurrection happened at the beginning of
January
this year.
6th.
Yep. Different new presidency. The vaccines came out. We started to re-enter society. I went back to working in person a few months ago.
Yeah, me too. I only have to go in one day a week.
Yeah, I've been going in a couple days. Well, I always had to go in a couple days a week because I teach. But so we started the year releasing this show we had recorded virtually. Didn't know when we were going to be able to be on set again. I know other productions had gone back to set, but for us, and the cost of testing everybody and the personal cost of not being sure if people would get sick, we just decided not to do that. But now here we are in a week shooting another film together.
In person. Today we just had a blocking rehearsal, and it was really fun to see what we would do on the day of. And I'm so glad we did that, because doing it the day of would have been a lot.
Actually, yeah. I think about all the time we saved just doing this blocking rehearsal and working on those problems out. I'm never gonna, I mean, I know that we've done blocking rehearsals before, but we don't always have access to the space.
Yeah, or access to
So
DP.
yeah, so to have the access to the space and the DP this time, I don't know that I'd ever do it any other way
I
after
know.
today. That
No,
was so
that was great.
useful.
Yeah.
So and then to be doing the blocking rehearsal and then immediately afterwards talking about this podcast, which
Yeah.
was written by two women.
You mean the film?
Yeah, the film. Sorry, to be in this podcast talking about the film Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar, which was written by two besties
Yeah.
who wanted to make a film together. Um, I know I said this to you right as soon as we got to the blocking rehearsal. I was like, I just finished Barb and Star. Let's write a movie together.
Yeah. I
So
mean, the first I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, like, now I feel like because we've got a feature that you and I are developing that I wrote, that we're
Mhm.
both in. And I have a feature that I've been writing that may or may not ever get finished about a woman falling in love with Bigfoot. But I kind of think in 2022 it would be fun if you and I try to write something
I think
together that's a
that'd be
fun comedy
so
like Barb and Star.
great because, like, I literally the first time we saw it, like, that was my
Hmm.
thought. I was like, "I wanna make something like this with Nicole." Like, why did Nicole and
Yes.
I make this film?
Yes. And
Um,
we just need to find what our hook is.
yeah.
You know, what's our hook? What are our characters? I think it would be
Yeah.
really fun to write together. Although to be honest, I've never really, well, Hillary and I wrote 80s dating video remix
Mhm.
together, but that was like, I think what made that work pretty smoothly was that she went off and wrote some characters and I went off
Yeah.
and wrote some characters. And then we came
So
together.
what we could do is we could look up articles or books
Hmm.
or whatever that talk about
How do
how do
people do
people
this?
write screenplays
Yeah.
together and kind of
I,
like develop our own kind of system and
Because I know you and I agree on a lot of things, and we've
yeah.
written sketch shows together where
Yeah.
but it's always like us coming in with something that's written and we're workshopping it together. It's really,
Yeah.
I don't know how you start from
I
scratch.
guess in
Um,
in on TV shows, they have
mhm,
a room where they
mhm.
spitball, and then they
Yes,
assign episodes
episodes,
to
yeah,
certain people. So what we could
mhm,
do is just, like, spitball and talk and
and
think out
assign
loud,
scenes.
and then assign scenes.
You know what? That's really smart. I'm sure the listeners are really enjoying us working
Oh,
this out on the
I
air.
know, I know.
Hey, this is
I'm
the
so
content you
sorry.
came for.
This
But
is
and to circle back to this movie, I think that I would love the experience of writing something with you the way that Kristen Wiig and Annie did, and bring in a lot of because we know a lot of really great comedians like Cayla and Lauren. Like,
oh,
let's
yeah,
find a
for
way to bring
sure.
them in as the way that they've brought in all these great characters into Barb and Star. I've also been thinking about this a lot because I've been watching the Get Back documentary on Disney Plus.
What's that?
Oh my God, you don't know?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so Sarah, there is so you've heard of the Beatles, right? You've heard of the
Yes.
Beatles. Okay. So I'm just joking. The Beatles so in their last album, which came out which eventually was released as Let It Be, they had planned to record that album live in front of an audience. And so they had a film crew filming them every day for like 2 weeks while they wrote the songs for this album. That that idea got scrapped and they ended up recording Let It Be in studio, and of course they had that rooftop concert which you may or may not have heard about. Anyway, but there was hundreds of hours of footage that was never released to the public. They released a documentary that was like your standard 90 minutes or whatever, but there was hundreds of hours of footage, and we all knew it existed, and no one had ever seen it. And so as a Beatles fan, my whole life I grew up wanting to know what the fuck was on those film reels. And so Peter Jackson of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
was given access to this footage. And during the
Why?
pandemic, I don't know, somebody just somehow I don't remember how he got access to it, but they gave him access to this footage, and he and his editor spent the pandemic watching this footage and they edited together this 3-part, each episode is about 2 hours documentary, which is essentially you're just sitting watching the Beatles write songs. And the thing that it reminded me of, and you're watching their process, they're literally building songs from scratch. And what it reminded me of is when you and I and other folks in Critical Crop Top used to sit around and write sketches. and how we would sometimes start with an idea and then build it out in the room. And sometimes people would, and this is how the Beatles would do it. Sometimes they come in with a song and then other people would add to it. And they're like singing, and Ringo's literally back there coming up with the drum beat as it's going. And it reminded me of that and how much I loved the collaborative process of creating something with a group of people. And so I think I would really love, I would like to try that with you, to maybe write, because I'm not necessarily at the point where I want to go back to doing sketch shows. Not that I feel like that's a backslide or something like that. I love sketch shows. I'd be thrilled to do another one. But right now I'm very focused on film. And so I think it would be really fun for us to, I would love to.
Oh yeah.
I think
that's.
Will you be my John Lennon or
there's
my Paul McCartney?
no
I'm not sure
one
which
else-
one of us is which.
There's no one else I would rather try this with. Like,
let's do
literally
it.
no one. Yes.
Okay, that's our 2022 goal. We're gonna have to write we're gonna write a feature.
We are.
We're gonna make our own Barb and Star.
Yes.
Speaking of which, are you ready to get into talking about this movie?
I'm ready.
Barb and Star with Lauren Schmuck and Cayla Priest. We're going to talk about Barb and Star. Go to Vista Del Mar.
The house is a mess, Jack. The kids are a mess, Jack. You're a mess, Jack.
You have been a total bitch ever since you came to New York.
You seem sort of distant.
Let's just do it, man.
You look stupid and rich. Stupid and rich.
Fascist.
All right, let's get into it.
I know. And that's, again, another brilliant part of the writing is that you see Barb and Star both sneaking off to see Edgar after the threesome, and they both get what they need from him, which is, Barb is set free and wants to try new things, and Star says, you should never have to make someone love you. And that's the moment where in the boat where the two, Edgar and her, share that connection because they both understand that feeling of trying to make someone love you.
I love that Edgar listened patiently to both of them talk about their exes and wasn't like, I can't do this.
He didn't roll his eyes.
He listened, and they both just went on about that's something that you're always told to not do. Don't talk about your exes. Don't
talk about yourself.
Unload all of your issues on someone when you first meet them. And they were just being very vulnerable and honest.
Yeah, Barb and Star were just constantly, completely emotionally vulnerable and honest. And they weren't ashamed. We keep coming back to the theme of they're just not ashamed of who they are.
And I love that. I want to be that. That's what I want.
Yeah. She's you know what? I was cheated on. She was just letting it all hang out. Not a hint of, anything, but just take it or leave it. This is me.
You're I love culottes. I read magazines about culottes. Also, I'm glad that culottes are getting the respect they deserve in this movie because I fucking love culottes.
I love that they did the definition of a culotte at the beginning.
Before the movie.
Oh,
yeah, that was great.
So good.
So good. So I want to also talk, now that we're talking about Edgar again, I also wanted to talk about another thing. And Sarah and I were getting a little worried about this when we were watching the movie the first time. We're like, okay, we see that the two women have both gone out with Edgar.
We were worried.
Is there are they going to put in a triangle?
Rivalry?
We were like, I just don't need to see that again.
No.
And so but they didn't. They didn't ignore it. They didn't ignore it. But what I love is that the conflict, because we do need to have a conflict between these two women in order to progress the story and to give us something interesting. And to give them something to work against. But the conflict is not about, I wrote down, it's not about the guy, it's about the lie. So what they're upset, what they end up being upset about is the lying that they're doing to each other. It's not about Edgar. I mean, they do at one point, Star's you're just jealous because he picked me. And Barb's I absolutely not. And they blew right past it because it's not.
Yeah.
It's not about that at all. It's about,
it's about they've always been honest with each other.
And they've done things together. And Barb is off having her own adventures, trying new things. And maybe that's something they needed in order to progress as human beings, is for Barb to go off and have some adventures and
meet Tommy Bahama.
I love that part so much. The way he grabs a piece of bamboo and rubs her this as absolutely a nondescript leaf and rubs her wound.
Yes.
So good.
I love that they're is this a love interest? No, just here to give some simple advice and then go off into the Florida wilderness.
Just walk away into the brush.
I do love that Barb did not need a man and that she really didn't. It wasn't like she was being defiant, like, I don't need a man. She was having fun, and there was no talk of that. It was just, and I did love that they didn't compete for the guy, and it wasn't about that, like you said.
Because we were worried. We were like, oh, don't do this to us.
We were very worried, yeah.
Well, even on that first night where they both go to see him, it ends with both of them being like, oh, I left my friend. You know?
Like, I don't want to.
I got to go back.
Yeah. So we haven't talked too much about Sharon. I feel like we should talk about Sharon.
We need to talk about
Kristen
Sharon.
Wiig's alter ego.
Ego. Oh my gosh. Okay, first of all, this movie, like, you think it's one thing. Like, you've seen the previews with like Kristen Wiig and what's her name?
Annie M.
Annie M. We're just going to go with Annie M. Sorry. I'm so sorry to those folks that know how to pronounce her name, and we're not doing it correctly. And
so it's just the two of them, and you're like, this is going to be fun. And then the first scene after the paper boy delivers the paper, and then the tree,
at first you're like, what the fuck is this movie
opens
about?
up, and you're just like, wait.
For a split second, I was like, am I watching the right movie? Like that. I loved the swerve so much, but I was just like, I think I clicked on the wrong thing.
It had a very Austin Powers tone.
I just love the ridiculousness that happened almost immediately into the movie. Here's this kid having the best time delivering paper, and then goes into a layer inside of a tree, is like laser beamed inside of a tree. It just like immediately I was like, yes, I am on board with whatever is happening.
And the newspaper was a bomb.
Yes, I know.
Oh god, that kid was great. That kid actor was great.
Yeah,
the kid, so cute.
And then we meet. Is her name Sharon?
It's Sharon. I wrote it down because I was like, I love that they give her the most nondescript.
Yes.
Also, I really want to talk about Sharon's incredibly convoluted backstory because
it was so bizarre. I just like I mean, as a like writer, I love being like, I wish I was in that room, because like, can you just imagine
as they're raising the stakes,
how fun it was just to sit there and be like, okay, so what if she got shot out of a rocket? And then you're like, I love that. Keep going. And it just keeps getting more and more bizarre. But you're just like, yeah, that absolutely happened to her.
I love that you're like, oh, it's because her friend got eaten by the alligator. And it's like, no, it's like, and then she goes to okay, so it's because they push her up on stage. No. And then she gets shot. It's like the escalation of and
her clothes come off.
And she's like, and then my clothes got ripped off as I was sailing.
I landed on a cruise ship.
It's just so many. It really does feel like an improv exercise that has been yes-anded until it can't go any further.
Yes.
And poor Edgar in love with Sharon, who will just
be official.
Them reading the books of like how to make someone love you. Like I can never do the title justice. And then she's reading like how to convince someone you're in love with them.
But you're not, but you need them to do something you want them to do.
Yeah.
Again, I love this idea of, this earnestness of him just like wanting to be loved, and her just like not, again, the writing is so brilliant. She doesn't know how to love because she doesn't have any friends. She hasn't made any connections, and she doesn't know how to give herself to people in that way. And
her need is revenge.
Right. But they've managed to tie it all the way back at the end to friendship and the importance of friendship, which is the overall theme of the movie, which is that friendship is strong and conquers everything and, makes people better. And like I think this movie could have gotten away with just letting her get eaten by mosquitoes and be done with it. But then they were like, no, let's bring this character back and have her grow.
Have everyone say they want to be her friend.
Yes. Which is beautiful. They didn't have to do that. It was so great.
That was my childhood belief when I was like before the age of like 13, I think. I really truly believed that if you gave someone enough hugs and gave someone enough love and told them you loved them and made them feel loved, like that they wouldn't be bad, that they would be a good person. Like I really believe that. So like this is kind of like playing on that, like this person just needed to be loved in order to not be a villain.
Needed to be accepted.
And this is what I also really like about, because I think there's been a turn away from these type of comedies that are really just like what I would consider to be through and through feel good comedies, where everything kind of works out at the end and we're just there to laugh and we're there to enjoy the characters and to feel good. I think that in our society, has sort of taken a turn in taste where we want things to be kind of a dark comedy, or we want it to be subversive or cynical in some way. And I'm not saying I don't also like those for what they are, but there's something just really beautiful and joyful about a comedy that is about, let's all try to feel a little better, let's all try to be a little bit better.
And that was a great year for it to come out too,
and something that I need, like right now I need escapism. I don't want to watch a movie about the apocalypse. I don't want to be reminded about the cynicism and how people don't help each other out. I don't need that. I can literally just open up Twitter, or I can look outside my window and see all the people that are not helping each other. Like, I don't need that.
Right.
So
it's too real.
It's too real. So to have the purity of something like this, where we can believe that friendship can make us better and that we can do better, is just, it's really beautiful. So I'd like more. I want more comedies like this,
and I want more music in comedies.
Oh my gosh, we didn't even talk about the songs.
We didn't even talk about the music. Yeah,
the songs are so good. The piano player in the bar with all his songs about boobies killed me. Absolutely killed me.
Yes,
I think my favorite one is like, I'm gonna take a short little break and I'm back.
Yeah.
I love
just
the
like silly,
whole number about the hotel.
Yes,
the hotel one. They're like motel, and like, oh no, this was a hotel.
You're across the parking lot.
I love that this movie is both a idealized version of Florida, because they didn't even shoot it there because Florida doesn't look like this. It's both an idealized version of Florida, but so also quintessentially Florida. Like the fact that there's just a guy who's always in a Speedo walking around with a drink. Like that's Florida to me. Like, I've seen that guy. I've been down to the beach and I've seen him. He just walks around all day. Anywhere he is, he's always in a Speedo and he's got a drink.
Well, the whole vacation is like, we're going to escape our lives. We never do anything for ourselves. And it totally was, if they had shown up and it was like a shithole, but like great to them, then, we're laughing at them. Instead, we're just like, wow, watch them have the best time. Watch them drink this huge fishbowl drink, watch them sneak into the pool, watch them be like amazed by their hotel room. And it was so great that it just was like, they really did go to this little shining star.
They got their shimmer back.
In Florida. They got their shimmer back.
They got saved by Trish.
I also loved that I know. But I loved that the song that they danced to at like the club was like My Heart Will Go On, like a club version of My Heart Will Go On. Like that was like so like,
oh gosh,
cute.
That was so good.
Yeah.
Like,
and then y'all blew my mind. I did not know that Jamie Dornan could sing.
Yeah.
His song was so funny.
I didn't realize, I had forgotten. I do remember now that we looked that up, because I was like, there's no way that was him. Wow, we've been talking for a long time, so we're actually like coming to the point where we need to wrap it up. I know I could talk about this movie for like another hour.
I know.
So does anybody have any final thoughts?
The Reba cameo in there,
out in the water,
but also talking about like an improv exercise whenever they're on the plane and they're talking about Trish. And they just keep elevating how, like, what Trish does. I was watching that and I was like, that is definitely, they just set the camera up. They have a general thing of what they're going to say, but it's just them having fun talking about this mystical creature that is Trish.
Oh, at Christmas, forget it. I love that line. Forget it.
Yeah. I had a similar feeling where I would watch scenes and go, okay, I'm thinking about like how many cameras do they have up right now, and to capture like every little bit of improv. I did actually look up I looked up a bloopers reel, which, by the way, I recommend watching. Is very fun.
I love bloopers.
Kristen Wiig just like like Annie seems to be really good at keeping it straight, but Kristen kept losing it constantly.
That
I don't know how you couldn't.
and also Edgar, they would both when they were trying to get out of the ropes, like he turns around to say his line and they're all like this and he just couldn't, he just like fell on the floor laughing. Oh my God, we didn't even talk about Damon Wayans Jr. God, there's so much we could talk about. We can't get to it all. So there's one last thing I just to sort of wrap this up. Another thing that I watched after the movie was like a very short behind the scenes featurette, and Kristen and Annie said something about in writing the movie that inspired them that I thought was really interesting. I want to share with you guys, and I don't know, see if you have any response to, but they said one of their inspirations for the characters was how when you're best friends, you start to kind of take on each other's mannerisms or personalities or even the way that they dress, and how you start to take on aspects of each other. And that's kind of the way Barb and Star, they have the same haircut and they kind of talk the same. And I don't know, I just thought that was really truthful about like really deep bestie friendships. And I don't know if you guys had any response to that, but I just wanted to put that out there and see if anybody had any thoughts about that.
Yeah, Lauren has the most beautiful skin, so I had to get the most beautiful skin.
You both have the most beautiful
You have gorgeous skin, both of you, yes.
Well, it is. No, it totally is. You know, when you hang out with friends and they say something in a very specific way and you hear it enough, you start saying it in that very specific way. You're like, wow, like Lauren always has the most cool necklaces. I want to have a thing. So like I wear cool earrings, you know? That's amazing. So like, it's just, you're inspired by your friends, you know, and you like want to soak all of them up, and it starts to come out of you too, for sure.
Truly. Like there was definitely Cayla and I send memes back and forth to each other all the time, and I sent her one and she typed out like phonetically, she was like, that one kilt me. And I just thought that is like the funniest thing in the world. And so I've just like adopted that. We also have the same hairdresser because like I really like Cayla's hair. And so then she was like, oh, you should go to my hairdresser. And so just like, you know, she both cuts our hair. But yeah.
That is the cutest thing I've ever heard.
It's very cute.
I love that's a great bestie detail.
Yeah, and there's not like a competition. It's just like, I like that, and I'm not gonna like, I'm gonna embrace that about you, and I'm going to incorporate it into. I think it's a compliment whenever people are like, I like what you like.
I very much just made a connection in talking about this. So when I was younger, I used to wear a lot of jewelry, and like somewhere along the way I stopped, and it would totally, like, I'll probably cry because I'm also about to start my period. So I'm very emotional. I'm very hormonal. I guess like when I started improv, which is how Lauren and I met, I started it because I had kind of lost myself and I didn't have any interests. I really didn't have any friends because it was like that weird time where people move for jobs or grad school or whatever, you know, and so like my core group of friends, I had gone away for college, come back, we had just all scattered, right? And so I didn't go into it thinking, oh, I'm going to make, you know, the very best friends I've ever had, or I didn't think any of it was coming, right? But it totally did help me find myself again. And it brought me to people like Lauren, you know, and our group of friends that we have. And I feel like seeing someone like Lauren who is unapologetically herself, as much as we live in our heads and we're like neurotic about it, you know, like Lauren has always had like the most beautiful like necklaces and like accessories, and like she has the best style. And I just was kind of reminded, oh, I like that. You know, it's almost like she kind of like brought me back to myself.
Yeah,
you know,
beautiful.
Yeah, like yeah.
Wow, that's
I didn't
really
cry. I'm proud of myself.
No, that's beautiful. And a circle just briefly back to the movie. I love that this movie makes us think about those things. And I'd like to see more of that in movies. I think, you know, Sarah and I met at a similar time in my life where I had kids too. And my life was in my life was in transition, and I was kind of trying to find like who I was at the time. And so Sarah's at the start of my journey of the person I am now. Sarah was right there at that inflection point, and we met in an acting class. And I think that you know, I think that we were destined to meet, but also without having met, I don't know if I would be doing what I am right now.
I definitely wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. Like I don't know what I'd be doing, but
my life would be boring, that's for sure.
And like I think that in terms of what I've adopted from Nicole, I think I definitely have your laugh now.
Yes.
Like I definitely have your laugh.
Loudly and obnoxiously.
And
that's how
so
I laugh.
Cute.
But I mean, I just like I love that we each have our own things that we love, and I don't know. I just really admire Nicole for her filmmaking abilities, and she just taught me everything I know. So I literally couldn't do this without her.
Well, that's not true.
She
You would
could
have
do
done
it
it
without
anyway.
me,
That's
but
not true.
That's so cute.
Oh, guys, I love this so much.
Let's just compliment each other for an hour.
Let's do a whole podcast where we just compliment each other. Sarah, Sarah, would you like to go ahead? Shall we do the Bechdel test quickly?
Yes. Okay.
I don't think this will be hard.
No.
So are you guys familiar with the Bechdel test? Okay.
Yes. Two women
So
not talking about.
we always run down the rules.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly that. So we run through each of the rules. We do this for every film that we've ever watched. Many of them do not pass. This one,
many.
I'm confident. So does this film have more than one female character in it?
Yes.
Yes. Many, actually. Not just two, but many. Do those characters have names?
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. Do they speak to each other?
Yes, they do.
And do they talk about something other than a man?
Yes.
Yes. So this film not just passes, but passes with flying colors. Has significant female relationships.
It actually almost doesn't pass the reverse Bechdel test. If it weren't for Edgar and Damon.
Was his name Daria? I don't remember.
Dario. He was such a beautiful character.
If it weren't for them, I wouldn't have passed that one. Yeah.
I could have used so many more scenes with Damon Wayans Jr. in it. He's so good. I love him so much.
That joke,
the note on the door,
old. Just like, I'm going to be as obvious as possible. Meanwhile, I'm trying to hide. But
Damn it!
Just so obvious.
That joke was so good.
So funny. It's such a simple joke, but it is so good. Like the way it was done.
God, we didn't even talk about some of my favorite jokes, like the soul douche, all of that stuff. This movie has so many brilliant lines.
The tiny shells on the bracelets cutting their arms.
Where they're like, oh, that hurts. And they use it to get themselves out of the rope. I mean, come on.
I also have to die at them on the jet ski at the end. And she's like, so comfortable. I got my labia pierced.
Oh, that
I took it out.
She's like, I got my labia pierced. And then later she's like, I said I took it out, but I didn't. And it really hurts. I also just love that they said the boat. That's what Sarah and I felt like this movie was. It was a real tit flapper.
It was.
Welcome to Plug It Up. This is the part of the show where we plug stuff. It's just me and Sarah. Just me and Sarah plugging things. I think that I can plug for Lauren that she is in a Lace Larrabee's Level 2 grad show, stand-up. Don't want to miss it.
Women's
all women stand-up class. And let me tell you, I've been to these stand-up shows. It's not like you're going and seeing people and you're like, ooh, they're students. They're not like, this is like good stand-up. And they've been working on this material for months. And it's really good. And so that'll be
a lot of the Atlanta greats have come from this class.
Oh yes. Too. Oh yes. So. And she said that was January 10th. 11th, January 11th at the Punchline Atlanta. So check that out. And then Cayla wanted to plug Lola Scott, who has done photos for all of us. So at Lola Scott Art, Lola Scott takes portraits, headshots, band photos, creative photos for your web, your socials.
She plays with color and light. She tells you exactly how to stand and how to make yourself look like the best version of yourself.
Oh, yes. She's great at posing, and it never feels forced. Like both Sarah and I and Lauren and Cayla have all had photo shoots with her and done besties group photo shoots with Sarah and I. If you've seen any of the pictures of Sarah and I lately on the social media account for Feminine Mistake Podcast, that is Lola Scott photos.
Lola Scott,
she makes me feel like a queen.
She does, and she is a queen.
She's a queen. So book a photo shoot with her if you're in the Atlanta area. She she has a really unique style. It's very artistic and beautiful. And I have always struggled with what to do with my face and my hands and my body. And I never feel, and whenever she tells me what to do with those things, I never feel like it's not me. And I never feel like it's forced. It always feels like I see the result and I'm like, wow, that's amazing. She made me look amazing.
She's very sweet. Like she's non-judgmental. She's very friendly and like
fun. She's super fun.
Yeah.
It's a great vibe. So everyone, cannot recommend her highly enough. At Lola Scott Art. Go check her out and book a session. She's got a variety of different tiers to fit your pocketbook. Sarah, what would you like to plug?
Sure. Let's see. Will you please log into Instagram?
Right now. Listeners. Are you logged in? Are you logged in right now?
Yeah.
No, I'm not you, the listeners.
Yes, please log in right now and find at hedgehodges _bodpos, HEDGEHODGES _BODPOS. And it's about loving yourself, your body. You know, it's gosh, my words are escaping me. It's like about self-care, self-love, self-esteem. And I know that when I feel kind of crappy, sometimes I look up pictures of women who are plus size just because
it makes me feel good. I wish that it existed when I was younger and I could see examples of women, plus size women feeling good about themselves, living life, feeling good, you know, loving their bodies, loving their fashion.
Yeah.
I wish I had that.
And the sheer amount of women, it's not just like one woman or like two women. It's like there are thousands of us. And like just it feels good to be part of that. And also I do makeup on myself and I have lots of clothes. So it's just like an excuse to share that.
Looks amazing, by the way.
Thank you. So yeah, go check that out.
Check it out. I would like to plug a couple things. So we've got Critical Crop Top's YouTube channel, or just Critical Crop Top in general. If you want to keep up to date with us, we are Critical Crop Top, and we produce this podcast. We produce the Adam and Andy podcast, which is where Sarah and I talk about the films and television and careers of Adam Driver and Andy Samberg. So if that's your jam. We also we're producing a film. We've produced films, sketch shows, series. Anyway, you can find all of that at Critical Crop Top on all the things, or if you go to YouTube and look for Critical Crop Top, you can find our channel and you can watch. It's right there.
Watch hundreds of hours. I don't know, hundreds of hours.
It actually is hundreds of hours. I think we have something like 200 videos up there by now.
Okay. So
more than 200 perhaps. I don't know. There's a lot. But you can also watch the vidcast of this podcast. So if you'd like to see our faces, see what my Garoffice looks like.
See the dog. Well, Jack just moved directly behind you. Yeah, but he was a little bit. You could see him out of the corner.
There he is. My dog. You can see my dog a bit. So check that out. Also, as the aforementioned Adam and Andy podcast, if you're into that, you can listen to that on all the things, or you can watch the vidcast on Critical Crop Top's YouTube channel. And this podcast, if you would like to tell us what you thought of Barb and Star, or any of the things that we discussed regarding Barb and Star, go to Vista Del Mar. You can find us at Feminine Mistake Pod on Facebook and Instagram, and you can find us on Twitter at Fem Mistake Pod. Wow, this is the last episode of 2021 for the Feminine Mistake Podcast.
We made it a good one.
We made it. We made it a good one.
Feel good.
You made it a good one.
Aw, no, you did. Stop it.
So happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.